Today, our group will be presenting about our financial analysis on the chosen company, which is Apollo Holdings Berhad. I will go through the introduction, which is the background and rationale. First, it was established in 1994 in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. The company is producers of fast foods across Southeast Asia and have a strong brand recognition and steady performance throughout their whole operations. And the company selection's justification on why we choose the company to analyze is it is a well-known local brand with a international reach. So they export their products to Southeast Asia and over 40 more countries. Next is the company have an importance of innovation in F&B sector and suitable in studying corporate performance because of the steady performance throughout their operations. Industry overview and positioning. So Apollo works in the competitive FMCG confectionery sector, which is influenced by shifting consumer tastes. It is well known for the young population in Malaysia and also have a consistent demand for chocolates and snacks. So the global competitors is Nestle and Cadbury. Other than that, the company markets itself as a reliable domestic company that sells nostalgic and reasonably priced goods that are widely available throughout Southeast Asia. It is a competitive alternative to global brands because of its strategy, which is place an emphasis on mass market appeal and consistent quality.
Alright, thank you Iman for the presentation from the introduction of Apollo Group's Holding Berhad. Hello, my name is Muhammad Shami and I will be presenting about the financial data collection for Apollo Foods Holding Berhad, a well-known player in the confectionery and bakery sector. Apollo Food Holding Berhad is a public company listed on Bursa Malaysia, which means its annual reports and financial statements are made publicly accessible as required under the Companies Act 2016. For this study, we collected the data for the past 3 years, the year 2022, 2023 and the year 2024, to evaluate the company's performance and growth over time. To ensure that our findings are reliable, accurate and relevant, we refer to both primary sources such as Apollo's official corporate website and annual reports on the Bursa marketplace, as well as other secondary sources, including supporting articles and financial reviews gathered from the internet. Also, it is important to highlight that the figures in the analysis are taken at the group level rather than just the company level. Why? This is to provide a more comprehensive view of Apollo's overall financial position. Finally, this data serves as the foundation for our upcoming financial analysis, where we will be assessing Apollo's profitability, liquidity, and efficiency ratios to better understand the company's financial health and long-term sustainability. Thank you. Alright, so this is our financial data collection for Apollo Group's Holding Berhad. This data is ranged from the year 2024 and the year 2023. Consisted in this data are 4 elements of the financial statement. Firstly is the income statement, statement of profit and loss, statement of changes in equity, and statement of cash flow. For reference, for the calculation of the financial ratio, we only decided to take the group data. Okay, continuing for the financial data collection, we have also gathered the financial data for the year 2022 to complete the 3 years observation of Apollo financial statements. Okay, so I will pass on to Aiman to present about the financial analysis for Apollo Holdings Group Berhad.
So now let's continue with financial analysis. So for the first one is liquidity ratio. So the first one is current ratio, it decreasing from 18.07 to 12.01, but it shows strong ability to cover short-term obligation in the company. The next one is quick ratio, also decreasing from 15.44 to 10.30, but it still shows that there are strong ability liquidity even without inventories. And last one is cash ratio, it dropped from 10.98 to 7.34, but it still shows that ample cash to cover current liabilities. So the next one is activity ratio. The first one is inventory turnover from 17.18 to 17.51. There's an increasement of inventory turnover. And let's see days sales in inventory from 51 days to 48 days, which was decreasing and showing the faster inventory clearance and potentially can higher the price of the products. The next one is receivable turnover from 6.23 to 9.43, which shows a slower payment, a weaker in cash inflows. And this sales in receivable from 48 days to 38 days, which dropping because it reflects the faster collection and improvement of cash inflows in the company. The next one is payable turnover. It decreasing from 19.78 to 13.49, which making it slower payment to the supplier, but it is more effective, which they can use the credit terms to extend the cash flows. And now we see the days cost in payables increasing from 18 days to 27 days, although it increasing, but the company use the better option of their supplier's credit term. Next one is the total asset turnover, which increasing from 0.77 to 1.04, which shows the efficiency, asset use, and possibility faster sales growth of the company. And the last one is capital intensity from 1.30 to 0.97, which of Apollo 4 needs less capital to generate the same revenue. So let's continue to debt ratio. The first one is the total debt ratio from 0.07 to 0.088, which still moderate but manageable increase in debt used to finance their asset. The next one is debt equity ratio. They indicate high reliance to the company towards their debts, but it's still below 1.0, so it's still okay, but they have the potential rise in financial risk. The next one is equity multiplier from 1.076 to 1.097. Show high financial leverage, which can boost the returns but also increase the risk if the profit falls. So the last one is time interest and cash coverage ratio, which Apollo Food not reported any interest expense across all the year, suggesting that it has no borrowings in the company. So let's continue to profitability ratio. The first one is profit margin from 5.30 to 21.2%. It increased, which showing that Apollo Food keeps more profit per sale through cost control, pricing, and efficiency. The next one is return on asset. It reflects the stronger asset profitability and higher profit per ringgit of asset. And the next one is return on equity from 4.4% to 21.4%, which shows that a strong growth in shareholder returns and effective equity use. So the last one is market ratio. The price earning ratio decreasing from 0.4334 to 0.1039, although it's decreasing, but the company shows a high chance to increase their earnings for their shareholders. Thank you.
For next presentation is about interpretation of financial analysis, where Apollo's liquidity ratio remains sustainable and efficient in meeting short-term obligation. It still outperforms key industry competitors such as Oriental Food, Ajinomoto, and Cowan Food. Next is our activity ratio, where Apollo's activity ratio shows strong improvement with faster inventory turnover and quicker receivable collection. Apollo also becoming efficient in inventory and credit management. This has caused them boosted sales, shortened collection periods, and strengthened cash flow. Next is debt ratio, where Apollo is utilizing a longer credit term, which means that they are having longer payment periods in 2024, possibly used to manage cash flow. Asset turnover improved while capital intensity declined, showing efficient use of asset to generate revenue. Next is a profitability ratio, where Apollo's profitability ratio improved significantly with higher profit margins, return on assets, return of equity. This reflects stronger cost control, efficient asset use, and greater returns to shareholders. For the last part is market ratio, where for good news for investor, where they have to pay less per unit of earnings. While this shows Apollo is having a slower growth rate, while also able to generate stable earnings that may appeal to risk averse investors.
Okay, when it comes to investment analysis, when we are considering Apollo as an investment option, there are three qualities that is considered here. First of all, is the qualitative aspects. Apollo is a strong brand with consistent demand in Malaysia. It also has a reliable dividend history, meaning stable income for investors if you decide to invest, and minimal long-term debt, which will provide low financial risks. And also, Apple is in the confectionery industry, which is stable, and it is due to the increase of disposable income and festive demands in Malaysia. Next is quantitative aspects. For the liquidity, uh, Apollo can cover their short-term obligations because their current ratio is 12.01 in 2024, which is above the benchmark. For activity, inventory turnover and receivables turnover has increased, and however, payables turnover has decreased, meaning the payment to the supplier has slowed down. For the debt to equity ratio is only 0.097 because Apollo has a debt-free capital structure, and it will result in minimal leverage. For profitability, the net margin has increased a lot from 5.3% in 2022 to 21.2% in 2024. And the return on asset and the return on equity also has a big increase. For the market, for the price to earnings ratio, it has dropped to 0.1039. This signals an undervalued company. So for the risks, Apollo heavily relies on imported raw materials like cocoa and sugar. So they are exposed to the price volatility. They also, in the confectionery industry, is have big players like Nestle, Mondelez, and other strong local brands. So this is a big risk. And for nowadays, um, people are shifting more towards healthier snacks, so it also becomes a risk to Apollo if they don't do anything about it. And with all the info that we have gathered and the financial analysis, it represents Apollo as a strong foundation and an undervalued investment opportunity. So the recommendation that we have concluded on Apollo is to buy. Why? Because it has strong liquidity, rising profitability, debt-free balance sheet, and it gives consistent dividends. And to conclude everything that we have done in our research, we have found that Apollo is financially stable with minimal leverage and strong profitability growth. We also found that liquidity and receivables management remain strong, although supplier payments has slowed in 2024. And we discovered that the strength of Apollo and the strength, exceptional liquidity, debt-free structure, improving profitability. The weaknesses, slower supply payments in 2024, dependence on raw materials, and high industry competition. So our overall assessment of is Apollo is a resilient company, also is an undervalued company, and very attractive to investors. So we recommended to buy. So why are we doing all this? Is we want to highlight the importance of financial analysis. Doing financial analysis helps identify strengths and weaknesses, benchmark performance, assess risks, and guide investment decisions on where to put their money. And I think that's all from us. Thank you very much.